That's like a hard subject to just...
Why do you just say like the most? Why do you just like go to the most?
Because the point is...
Open up, you open up.
Hi guys, I'm Hannah.
I'm Sadie.
And we're not straight. We're knocking the light over into the candle. Light catches on fire.
All right, let's just keep going.
All right.
Can you just stop
Pop
popping
their
up
head
like
up
that?
like right there.
Hi, buddy. Oh, welcome back.
Welcome. Welcome back. If you're new here and you dig our videos, that'd be awesome if you hit us with a like or some comments or subscribe. We really appreciate it and it means a lot to us. We also have a Patreon if you're interested in joining. That's been so much fun. Speaking of, we'll put the link in the description below.
I thought it was gonna be
That's
like a
what
really cool thing where like you said it and I was like already doing this.
Almost was.
We weren't. We didn't rehearse.
Yeah, we never rehearse. Anyway, we have a few shout outs to give to new patrons. So thank you to Karina A.
Katrin K.
And Sarah S.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
Yeah, thank you. We also have a bookshop. We talked about that a little bit last video, but
Yeah.
that link is... Oh, I know. That link is also below, so give that a little look-see, why don't you?
Is it just LOOKSY? Like a little look-see, or is it like a
Look-see.
dash and then SEE?
No, it's a Look Del Mar.
Oh my god. You can't stand it.
Okay, today's video. We're doing a special edition of the sex series. We're coming back to it because there's one thing that we got a billion questions about and we didn't totally address, so.
Yeah, and I think this is something that I would have wanted to have seen if I were...
If you were what, Sadie?
gay. No, like if I were like looking... I wish there was a video like this out here out there that I had seen before dating a woman.
Okay, well you probably know what it's about considering the title that we will come up with in the future, but you've already seen by now. This is going to be your comprehensive guide to having sex with a woman for the first time, if you're a woman.
Don't so doubt before we even say anything.
Well, I can't claim, we're not trained on this. I can't claim that we know everything.
We are in training.
But we do know one or two things that we can share.
Maybe even 3.
Okay, for real though.
Yeah.
A lot of people have asked, what do I do if I'm nervous for my first time?
Yeah.
So,
here's what
this
you do.
is for you. Here's what you do. Okay, we've broken this down into 4 categories. We've kind of built an outline for what this video is going to be about. The first is what to do before.
Second is what to ask.
Third is what to share.
And fourth is what to remember.
Yes, there's a lot to remember.
That was cute.
That was so cute. Okay, so let's start with the first one. What to do before. So I think the #1 advice that we've been giving all along, aside from consent, that's not advice, that's just a rule.
Yeah.
#1 thing is to know yourself. I think that's the best thing you can do for yourself and for your partner. Okay.
Why do we have a dog?
So what that might look like for you. Okay, advantages to knowing yourself. I think it's kind of the most important thing.
Yeah.
1, because the better you know yourself and what makes you feel good, the better chance you are of feeling good while you're having sex.
Yeah.
Honestly. Whether that's you doing that for yourself, or teaching your partner how to do that, or even knowing what will feel good for your partner, or what might feel good for your partner. If you know nothing about yourself, and you're a woman, how can you expect to know anything about how to make another woman feel good?
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's important. And I think it's important also to remember that like everyone's different, and so what feels good to me is going to be different than what feels good to you. And
yeah,
the better you know that ahead of time, the more clearly you can communicate that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess to that point, the more things you've tried on yourself, the more like context you might have when someone shares something about themselves too.
Yeah.
So if you've only ever done one thing your whole life, that might be great for you and that might not work for your partner.
Right.
So some like homework, studying, prep work could be to just like close the door, light some candles, spritz some perfume.
I'm already uncomfortable.
Spend some time alone. You know what we're saying?
I do.
Sadie does. Do I need to spell it out? I'm blushing. Wow, this doesn't happen very often. Okay.
Okay, anyway, also, what you mentioned about knowing yourself in terms of like what you want out of the experience and talking with your, being able to communicate that to your partner. Is this an experience that you just want to, is this an experience that's going to build as like part of your relationship with this person? Is this like a one-time thing? Is this not getting it over with, but like reducing like the stigma around like the grandeur?
Yeah. Like getting past,
Yeah,
it's very grand, I would say. It can be beautiful. Like getting past the awkwardness.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
yeah.
What are you hoping to get out of that? And like, and you don't have to say all of that out loud to the person. Like, you don't have to be like, hey, I just want you to know that I'm just trying to like get it out of the way with you. But to know for yourself and set, maybe like, just understand why you're motivated in this situation to have sex with someone can be really helpful, because it can reduce a lot of like the stigma and expectations that society puts on sex in general. I think a lot of times we're taught that sex is supposed to feel really good all the time, and if it doesn't, we're like, what did I do wrong, and was it wrong, and should I have done it? And then we have all these massive questions. And so being able to examine that for yourself ahead of time and just like know yourself, know where you are coming from personally.
Yeah, 2 other goals that you might have mentioned, but I want to say again, might just be like have fun. Like that could be the only thing. And might be to learn. Like, I'm going in this, I know nothing, I'm just going to try to learn something about having sex with a woman. Like, that could be your only goal, and that might be awesome. And then, like you said, that might reduce a lot of the pressure that you place on the experience. If your goal is just to get to know your partner better, it's pretty easy to fulfill that goal, right? That could be as simple as answering a few questions and suddenly...
Yeah, and I think also, I mean, being a person who, like, had sex with a man before, I think that my expectation was that if being with a woman is right for me, then sex is going to be excellent from the beginning. And that just isn't true. Like, you're not a professional. And that was an unrealistic expectation that I set on myself. And so I guess kind of having those, like, opposite notions, if you're a person like me who's been with men or been with other people of different genders who you're not interested in being with anymore, and you're expecting that by having sex with a woman you're going to be like completely fulfilled from the beginning
immediately.
Like that was my false, like my misunderstanding, I guess. So actually thinking about what my expectations for sex are would have been like a really helpful, I think, practice before going into it.
Yeah. And you might have some like chemistry filled, easy, romantic first time. We don't mean to discount that, but a lot of people don't.
If you do, don't tell us.
Hey, I thought our first time was great.
Oh, I just
sent another video.
Emotionally. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, anyway.
Let's move on to number 2.
That doesn't have to be in there. I feel like every time I'm like, cut that out.
And then I leave it in.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2.
What to ask. Oh my god, I thought you wrote, where do you live?
Okay. No, the question written is, what do you like?
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to start. What do you like? And we talked about that a little bit in the last category, but it's helpful to remember not just to understand what you like, but to actually ask what your partner likes and not to assume that they like what you do.
Yeah, this can be a really helpful like entry point, a really like kind entry point to telling someone what you like.
True.
This was another question that somebody asked that we didn't really answer, but how to get comfortable telling people what you like and you know what feels good and what doesn't, and or what your expectations are or whatever. It can be a little awkward to be like, just FYI, I like
it in the
things.
butt. Yeah. That's like a that's a hard thing to that's like a hard subject to just
Why do you just say like the most? Why do you just like go to the most?
Because the point is, like, that would be the hardest to share if you're like, I like vanilla sex. Like, everyone assumes that already. You don't have to share it in a big announcement, you know? Like,
I guess that's true. Like, yeah.
So, to that point,
Are you not done with it? No, I was just gonna say I'm not shaming anyone.
oh, no. The other beautiful thing about asking what do you like, it's a way to break down that barrier, and you can say, like, do you like this? Do you like toys? Do you like any penetration? Do you like to masturbate in front of people? Do you like to watch porn? Like, you can break down that barrier and throw out a whole host of options, even if they seem out there, because then that person feels safe to answer honestly. If you say, like, do you like a vibrator? And that person's like, yeah. But if you say something like,
or if you ask like the negative way, like, you don't have any like weird fetishes, do you?
Yeah.
Like, that can be a huge, I mean, then my mind would immediately go to like, what counts as weird?
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Whereas instead, if you're like, do you like foot stuff or vacuum stuff? Or like, if you bring it up.
We let the vacuum live in the past.
God, I don't have a vacuum fetish. It's fine if you do. I don't. Anyway, if you ask and you provide a bunch of options, they will feel more comfortable sharing.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
I think that's a really good way to like create space without making yourself vulnerable to someone else's experiences first. You know, like, you don't have to be like, hey, I did this one time and I really liked it, and cross your fingers that the person's gonna be like, oh, cool, that sounds great. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Oh, and then maybe one last thing in that category. It can be helpful to give space for anything that might be off the table for the other person.
Yeah.
So, just ask that question. Like, is there anything that's totally off the table? Is there anything that makes you uncomfortable right off the bat? Yeah. Are you doing that with your tongue?
Because this makes me uncomfortable.
Oh. Okay, category number 3.
I'm trying really hard.
You're doing such a good job.
Thank you.
You're doing such a good job. Category number 3 is what to share. And this is kind of the converse of what we just talked about. But,
I'm just kidding.
oh my God.
Wonderful. Yeah, I can start.
How about you talk about this one?
I will talk. Great. What to share. What to share while you're having sex with someone is super important and can be really helpful. It can be a lonely experience if you're kind of like in your own head and the other person or people don't say anything and don't respond to you in any way. So sharing is good. Like telling someone what feels good, what doesn't feel good. Thank you. This is really hard for me. And sharing where you're at emotionally. Telling them, like, you know, beforehand, like, I'm nervous or I'm excited or whatever. Being able to laugh with someone or even just be honest and say, I don't really know what I'm doing here. Can be a like massive icebreaker, and it can be really scary to take that leap of just saying, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm excited to do this with you, or I'm excited to figure it out with you, or whatever. The other person honestly is probably feeling some measure of the same thing, and I think that's really important to offer if that's where you're at. Like, being really honest can be not only liberating for you, but it can also create a really safe space for your partner. And even if you are really nervous and you're really anxious, or you don't know what you're doing or whatever, you want the other person to feel comfortable too, right? Like, I don't ever want you guys know I'm nervous talking about this.
You're doing great.
Thank you. But I don't ever want my, like, kind of inherited discomforts to I don't ever want to project those onto Hannah. Like, I don't want to make her feel uncomfortable just because it's something that I struggle with. Because I want to grow to feel comfortable, and I want to grow to be confident in my sexuality and confident in communicating and trusting her. And are you laughing at me? No. Stop laughing.
I'm not laughing. I was having a proud moment. You ruined it. Good.
Anyway, I don't ever want those things to stand in the way of her feeling comfortable and like being, I don't know, vulnerable with me.
Yeah. And the benefit of sharing those vulnerable, like, I'm anxious or I'm feeling uncomfortable, then your partner might be able to help. Like, it's not just you laying that all on the table so that, like, just so you know, just so you're aware, they might be like, oh, well, how can I help with that?
Yeah.
Or how can I make you more comfortable? Or how can I bring you back to this space? Another thing I think that's important to note here that seems more relevant for women is the idea that we have to be in the right headspace. Or it's harder to finish, or it's harder to have a good time, or it's harder to connect to one another. So I think it's really important to say, like, I'm really distracted. I might need some time to, like, ease into this, right? Like, then you might say, okay, maybe we just make out for a while until you're, like, fully here with me. Because if you're not present, it's, like, messed up before you even started.
And maybe at that point, if you communicate, this is where I'm at, I'm feeling, like, really nervous, or I'm distracted or whatever, and that just isn't somewhere that you can kind of come back from or come down from, maybe that's not the best time to have sex.
True.
Like, you can call it off.
Yeah.
You know,
At any time. Yeah.
Come back to it later, or when you're feeling, you know, maybe you're taking steps toward that.
Which maybe this is a good time to do a little consent break. #consent break. Consent is the most important thing. Always.
Yes.
So, asking for consent and giving consent should be the #1 priority. That goes without saying, but it doesn't always go without saying. So, we're going to say it.
I think all of what we're talking about too is wrapped up in consent.
Yeah.
Like,
true.
Like, thinking about stuff before, and, you know, maybe your goals with having sex or whatever, that is when you are already prepared to give consent. And if at any point it doesn't feel right, you can take that back and say, this is not the time for me, or whatever. And I think what to ask also is, you know, super important. Consent is, like, the foundation of that. That has to be, that has to come before asking any other questions.
Yeah. Do you want to have sex with me? Should have been the very first thing we said. Should be the first thing you say.
Yeah. And I do think that consent is also important when you're talking about sex. Like, if someone says, I don't feel comfortable talking about this with you, or whatever, talking about sex is also something that you need consent for. You can't just talk.
True.
And demand, or you can't just demand that someone share with you
or
either.
Listen to you talk about sex near them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's important as well, and I think that's a perfect time to exchange consents. I don't know.
Consents. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Do we move on to the last one?
Yeah.
#4.
What to remember.
What to remember. Remember always. So we've covered a lot of things, and when you get to the moment, you might forget all of it. So, if you forget all of it,
That's okay.
it's totally fine. Here's what to remember. 1, everyone has a first time.
Yes.
The person that you're having sex with has had a first time or is having their first time. No one's an expert from the start. No one knows everything. You're all learning together.
Yes. Being vulnerable with another person invites them to be vulnerable with you. So remembering that when you share, you're inviting another person to share as well. And you're, just by sharing, you're creating a safer space for yourself. And that person is likely going to reciprocate.
And be grateful. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Communication. We all know communication is key. So the more you can communicate, the easier it is for them too. Yeah. And then the last one that we're just going to hammer home again, even though we talked about it 2 minutes ago, consent.
Yeah.
Get consent all the way through. If you remember nothing else, remember to ask, is this okay? Does this feel okay to you? Can I continue? Can I try this?
Yeah.
What if we do this next? That can still be hot. That A's still hot. You're really hot. I'm really hot. I'm worried about our dog ripping up the couch.
She's gonna pull the lights down.
So maybe we should end this video before she has a chance to.
Yeah.
Final words, good luck.
We love you.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
That was cute. We didn't even plan that.
It's like that was like our first video. We did like bye at the same time.
Bye. Yeah. Her tail. She's pissed. She's like, what the fuck? She's like, I can't even get under the couch. We're talking about sex. We have to be close.
Whoa!
Put that in the bloopers. Okay.
It's gonna be our most attractive feature.
We should just make that the thumbnail and then everyone will click on it.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay.
Hell yeah, baby.
It's a new one.
6 and 7.